Okay, here we're looking at the relative fair value method or the proportional method when we issue convertible debt or convertible bonds in this case. So what we have here is we have bonds that are issued and outstanding that our bondholders hold, and they can convert those or swap them here for common stock. So what we have here is a debt for equity swap on our balance sheet. And what we have to do is we have to allocate that bond value between the liability and equity amounts that it represents on the balance sheet, since it's both a liability and an equity. So let's go down here and look at our example. In this case, we have a convertible bond. I just use a 5-year $100,000 value of the bond here at a 7% interest rate. So to determine our debt amount here, we use a similar bond without those conversion rights. So I have one here. So we're able to determine the debt portion here of that bond, that convertible bond. Now we also have an equity portion here, and those are really the conversion rights of that bond. Those are also a known amount here. Those are determined by a fair market value that they have at the time of the issue here. Now we know both the debt portion and the equity portion. Now we must allocate those portions here based on the amount that we received from the bond when we issued it. In this case, I'm using the bond's par value. Now if we received a greater amount or a lesser amount here, we would just substitute that into the equation. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go through an example here where we allocate this debt portion and equity portion based on our issue price of the bond here. So let's go on with our example. Okay, let's look at the relative fair value method or the proportional method. So in this case, we have an assigned value here. We have a known value for the debt portion or those convertible bonds in this case, and we also know what the equity value is of the, in this case, the conversion rights. And let's just go down here and look at them. So the known, we've used the similar bond without a conversion feature, and we determined that that bond would be worth $96,150. And then that fair value of the conversion rights, we know that they're worth $2,900. That's their market value here. So let's go up here and figure out how we would allocate the amounts between the debt portion and the equity portion. So we take these known amounts here, the present value of those bonds here to $96,150 without the conversion rights, and then we take the fair value of those conversion rights at $2,900. Total we come up with $99,050 here. So to figure out a relative percentage between the these known amounts here of the debt and equity, we divide in this case the $96,150 by the $99,050 total amount here to come up with a 97% assigned to the debt portion of that convertible bonds. And then for the equity portion here, there's conversion rights, we would divide the $2,900 by the total amount here of $99,050, and we'd come up with 3%. So we got a total here of 100% assigned between the debt and equity portions. So now to assign our equity, our debt and equity portions up here based on in this case, the $100,000 par value, we would take those relative percentages. In this case, for the liability or the convertible debt here, we take the 97% that we assign times the $100,000 bond par value, and we come up with $97,000 here. And then for the equity portion, we take that relative percentage of 3% times that bond par value here of $100,000, and we come up with $3,000. So here we allocated the debt portion and the equity portion based on a relative percentage here of these known amounts that we started with here, and we allocated those to these bond par value, or what we use, whatever the issue price on that bond would be. So this is how we use would calculate the relative fair market value based on the proportional method here for allocating this debt and equity portion on this convertible debt, and that would be at the issuance of this bond here. All right, in summary, we use this relative or fair value method or proportional method for convertible debt or convertible bonds when we know both the debt portion here, the liability portion, and the equity portion of the bond. In this case, our liability or debt portion here was that similar bond without those conversion rights. And then for the equity portion, that was the conversion rights here, and they had a market value or a fair value that we could determine at the issue date. And then we went up here and we determined their relative percentage here based on their total fair value here. And then we use that relative percentage between the debt and equity here times the issue price of that bond, or the in this case was the par value here. And then we were able to allocate the debt and equity portion on our balance sheet based on that relative percentage here.